Okay, so today this is a bit of a new one. I've got to introduce John Doan here. No relation, I'm told, to Fred, but he's from around your parts, isn't he, Warrington, John?
That's right.
So you contacted me. So this is another one because everyone that I've interviewed on these zooms in, and this is number 18 now. So John Doan is zooms in number 18. I've sort of interviewed for Star Sports or met in person or whatever. We met briefly, but this is a new one. I don't really know all that much about you, and it's the first time we've talked. So thanks very much for coming on. Now, you have taken the very brave decision to become a full-time punter, and that's when you first contacted me. Um, why did you decide to do that, and how long ago was that now?
It was about a year ago, and part of the inspiration is all these lovely people that you interviewed for betting people and for the Zooms in. Watching those videos, that probably the same as this one, gives you ideas and inspiration. And I've always been keen on doing it. I just didn't have the means to do it, and then I had the means, so I thought I would.
Okay, so I'm assuming you've got a supportive wife or family around you because it's a bit of a plunge. And if you're doing it and you've got other people that you sort of have to look after, it's added pressure, isn't it?
Well, my missus looks after her own side of the finances, but yeah, she is very, very supportive, of course.
So I'm assuming that you've obviously been a successful punter already, whilst doing something else. What was your job before?
I worked in social housing. It was quite a pressured job, and that was one of the reasons for doing this as well, just to sort of get out of the rat race, if you like.
Well, I think most people would think that betting for a living would be one of the most stressful things you could ever do. So that must have been quite a stressful job. Um, so how long have you sort of keep records and stuff? How long have you been making money betting?
Well, that's in and out on a yearly basis, but I'd say that since I started a year ago, it's just all starting to come together now. I've still made mistakes over the past year, but I've sort of settled into what I do, and you do have to vary what you do with what's going on, don't you? As many people have said to you, but I'm sort of fixed in what I do finally now after a year of trying various things.
Okay, what about previously? I mean, when you were still working, you obviously made a few quid.
Yeah, I mean, I have my moments the other way, but generally, I'd say the 3 years previous to me starting this, I was profitable. Yeah.
Okay, so what would be your main sort of hunting medium?
Okay, so I bet on certain sports and horse racing. So obviously with the horse racing, I just bet those straight, winning each way. And I also do. I'm into the Placepot, and also something you probably heard of, the Colossus Place 6 as well. And I do quite large perms of those, and I've been quite good with those over time. I've always done the Placepot. It's something that I've always liked to do. So with the horses, that's about it. But with the sports betting, it tends to be match betting that I do, mostly on Betfair. I'll try and take a view on one and just watch that in play and see how I go. The sports I like to do are what you call the stop-start sports, because it gives you that time to reassess where you are. So that'd be the NFL, tennis, cricket, rugby, both codes. I also do the football. I tend to do laying the draw on the football and then betting it back when the price goes out. And I also do the Asian handicap as well,
So a
which
lot
I
of the
first came across from reading Harry Finley's book, which was an absolutely fascinating read.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Harry's a fascinating character, isn't he?
He
And
is.
now you So going back to so you more of a trader on the sports, or I mean, it's a lot. You got NFL, tennis, darts, rugby. Uh, there's a lot of people that dedicate themselves to to being really good at one. So you're doing them all. So have you got like a sort of strategy that covers them all?
Yeah, and it's very similar. I like to go green, and then once I've gone green, that tends to be it. But it's where I do sort of lay it back or whatever. But I do. I probably wouldn't get the full outcome of the bet most of the time. I'll always tend to lay it back, but it depends on what stage of where I'm at and how it's going as to where I would lay it back and go green, as they say.
So have you got like sort of trading software that you use, like betting
No,
like that?
it's all just me. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, you said when you started that you'd always fancied having a go at this, but you hadn't been in the position. So have you sort of amassed yourself quite a decent tank so that you don't have to worry too much if it all goes a bit wrong? I mean, because everybody, even the best of people say that they have variants where they're bad runs and good runs. So if you got that sort of psychological and financial buffer zone now with a decent amount of money behind you, so you don't have to worry too much.
I've got enough to do what I need to do, and of course, if it doesn't work out in the end, there's always the go back to work scenario, isn't there? But so far, we're okay.
Have you sort of set yourself a target of how much you'd like or you need to win to sort of make it a viable sort of profession?
Yeah, and I'm not greedy. I'm not trying to do like you know 10 match parlays or anything like that to make £1 million in one day. I'm just trying to make a certain amount of money each day that averages out over the month to a figure. I won't say a salary, but you know where I'm coming from with that.
Yeah, because you were quite reluctant when we first got talking. I sort of said, "Well, how long have you been a professional punter?" And you were quite reluctant to be called a professional punter. So I put you down on here as a full-time punter. Do you think there might be a point in the future where you sort of message and say, right, I am a professional punter now, or is that just a term that you don't like?
It's just it's just a term that I don't really want to use. I don't know. I don't particularly know why, but I just prefer the description you've given me for the moment. But I suppose it's the same thing.
Yeah, no pressure.
No,
So I'm interested in the horse racing. So you do Placepots and you do the Colossus. I'm going to go on the Colossus. It's quite good. Are you like a captain on there? Do you do your own perms that people can chip into, or do you sell your own ship?
I do. Yeah, and obviously it depends on what time of day I've managed to get it on. If I'm early in the morning, you tend to get the takers. They tend to get taken up or partially taken up. But of course, the one good thing about the Colossus, if you do get taken up, is you get the rebate. Everybody gets the rebate, no matter who it is, and that's quite useful if you know, especially if you're losing. That rebate's quite good. I can't remember what the percentage is, and you might know, Simon, but it's
I've,
quite
I've
good.
only dabbled. I've only dabbled on it every now and again. So what's your handle on there if anybody's looking to sort of back you up?
Right, okay. Well, I don't want to give, like a lot of people say on these things, I don't want to give away everything that I do.
No, no, but I mean, if you put yourself up and people can chip in and sort of back you,
Yeah,
is that what you do? So what's your name on there for as
Sooty
that?
and Sweep, it's called, my
Oh,
name on
that's
there.
easy enough to remember then.
Yeah, I'm somewhere on the leaderboard. I can't. There's a leaderboard for captains, and I'm sort of. I think I'm in the top 50, but I couldn't tell you properly. Um, but yeah, I enjoyed it. This word "enjoy" when you're gambling, you do have to enjoy it. But at the end of the day, I always say, a lot of the things I do are quite boring now, and they're not that enjoyable. But of course, you've got to make the money, haven't you? Um, but the place pots are very enjoyable to me still, and they are profitable, so I'll carry on doing them.
Uh, all right, so you don't want to obviously you don't want to give away what your edge is on those, but for a play spot, so you know you I'm assuming that you sort of do a perm. You don't just do one line and pick a horse a race like somebody going to the races.
No.
So what would your sort of how big a perm would you do? I know it's how long's a piece of string, but how much would you lay out on a place pot to try and get yourself a few quid?
So I do up to 250 lines, which sounds like a lot. And the outlay isn't massive, It might be if it's 250, it might be 25 quid, it might be 50 quid, something like that. Of course, if you're doing perms like that, you sometimes end up winning it and you don't even get your money back. It's just how it goes. But one insight I will give you into the Placepot where I think, and place 6, where I think people go wrong, if you're doing a perm, they think that in, say, a big handicap with loads of runners, like, say, the Grand National or the Cesarovich, say, something like that, that's where you have to put more selections in, 5 or 6 selections. If you look at the figures on those races, the favourite or second favourite's often placed, and I'd probably only put 2, maximum 3 selections in those sorts of races. The races where you get the money are the win-only races, where you might have 3 runners or 4 runners, and especially when the favourite's not long odds on and there's a chance it'll get beat. It's surprising how many people go out of the pool if the second or third or even the outsider goes in. It's the same with sort of 5-runner races. I might put 3 or 4 selections in a 5-runner race. It's often that the first or second favourite are not placed in those races. And that, once again, that's where it does kill the pool.
So if you've done a fair bit of sort of study on people's habits and that with these type of bets.
I just think I'm talking to lots and lots of people over time, that's what they tend to do. And I mean, a lot of people do just, I mean, your casual punter probably just does, a £1 straight line or a times 4 perm or something like that. And as you know, we've seen people come up with these massive place pots by doing that. I mean, even the tote now, they sell you lucky dips, don't they, at the race course? I wouldn't go near those, but I've seen people win those as well. It's just, but that, to me, that's just like doing the lottery, isn't it? But why would you bother?
Yeah. So how do you sorry to interrupt there. So when you're getting to, like, do you do them every day? Would you do every meeting every day? Would you pick and choose your meetings? Where would you decide to get stuck in on a place pot?
Well, it's interesting what you said about the place pot, but on a general thing as well, I actually pick one meeting a day. If I am going to play on the horses, it'll be one meeting and I focus on that meeting. It tends to be the one that would be the better quality of the day. But on an average day, a lot of them are sort of equal, aren't they, anyway? I don't particularly like the all-weather. I prefer the jumps. Like tonight, I'll be doing Worcester. But I don't go near any of the other meetings. It's a time thing, that, as well. But yeah, I do pick one meeting. So if I attend a meeting, I'll do that meeting, or I'll just do one meeting from home.
Okay, so when you're doing like you decide to do Worcester tonight, are you sort of into the form and going in depth into every race, or have you got like a formulaic way you pick them? How much time would you spend on a place pot?
I'd spend probably a couple of hours on doing that and any selections I might want to back, win or each way. Now, I work a lot off instinct, but I put. Sam, I don't want to give too much away of how I do it, but
that's fine, don't it?
I try to find. I probably put the first or second favourites in off the tissue or off what's going on Betfair, depending on what time of day it is that I do it. And then I'll try and find the odd ones around sort of, say, 8 to 16 to 1. If you're lucky, and that's the one that goes in, and the other two are unplaced, then like I said, it's surprising how many do go out. Of course, the other way there's two ways of winning a decent pot. That you get more than one placed in a few races, so your stake goes up, or you get one line and you've got outsiders, so it can work both ways. But as I say, sometimes you can end up, if you're doing a big perm, you can end up with less money than what you started with, but that's the nature of the beast.
Yeah, I suppose if you're doing like 200 firm to 250 perm, you've got a good chance of multiplying your stake along as you go.
But there's something. Sorry, there's something I've learned in general as well since I've been doing this in the past year, and talking about how you maybe sometimes just get most of your money back with the Placepot. Is I've realised how much it's important if you're getting a percentage by going green on something on Betfair, or you're getting money back off your Placepot. Getting your stake back is a massive thing on your P&L. And I never even thought of that before. It's just because, say you have 50 quid on something and you go green on Betfair and you make 20, you're not just making 20, you're getting your 50 back as well, aren't you? You're not losing 50. And that's something I've really homed in on.
So are you being, are you treating this like a business, or have you got it all on spreadsheets and you know exactly how you're doing?
Just in notes on my phone. Yeah, but
so
every single penny's accounted for. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're not kidding yourself at all.
No, no, and I've always done that, Simon. I've not got the records. I think I've had times where I've like packed in and started again and all this kind of thing, but I've been doing that probably since the day I backed Kayazi, as I mentioned in the thing I gave you.
Yeah, you've been at it a long time. I was interested that you said if you're going racing. So, is going racing part of your strategy for winning? I mean, do you find that it's better to bet with the bookmakers on course, or do you just go to watch your horses in the paddock, or or is you just like going racing? I mean, what's the angle there?
I'm not a paddock watcher really, although I am a person like a lot of people that you've interviewed. I do love the horses and horse race, and I wouldn't want to see any harm to. I know it does happen to any of the horses. I'm not one of these people. I hate this when people you see them in the betting shops and they shout "fall" and things like that. And so I am not just a punter. I am a lover of the horses and the whole thing of going racing. I mentioned to you I'm a member at Haydock. I just like the whole thing, the social aspect of it. But I do like. I know it's not as good as it used to be, but just having the banter with the guys in the betting ring as well. I've got to know quite a few of them over the past year, especially the lads at Haydock.
Do you bet with them as well? Do you bet with the racehorse bookies?
I do, and I bet with certain ones, and they'll. I know I'm probably not getting the price I would get on Betfair, but some of them are. I'm not betting massive stakes, and some of them are very good to me. They'll always give you that half a point or a point more if they can. But it's just that physical. I think a lot of the guys that you've interviewed have said this, coming back to the race course, and it's just that physical cash bet thing, isn't it, that you like to do, rather than just putting numbers in your phone all the time.
Yeah, and I suppose psychologically, if you're there trading NFL, tennis, or darts, and you're sort of sat on your own, it's quite an insular quite an insular sort of job. When you go to the races, obviously it costs you. Do you put that down on your expenses for your day's work? Do you go?
I don't know. No, I mean I do have. When I saw you at Cheltenham, I'd been to Warwick on the Monday night, and I was actually going. Sometimes there's a purpose to why I'm there for another reason, and I was actually going down to Cornwall to pick me my mum up because my brother lives down there. So Cheltenham was kind of like
on the
way. So the expense is nullified because I was passing by anyway, if you know what I mean. But when I go to Haydock midweek and what have you, I'll just be driving. It's free tea and coffee for the members, so I don't really spend anything.
So when you you're doing this now. You're a full-time punter, not a professional punter, a full-time punter. You want to do it for as part, as part of your income. Your wife works. Are you go when you sort of get your money, when you get your winnings, do you build your tank up? Have you got any sort of plans to scale up so that
Yeah,
one day you'll be turning up at the races in a Bentley and all the rest of it? Have you got ambition to, or are you going to be happy to pay your exes, get a few quid?
I think it's just a steady away thing, really. But I do change the stakes on the different things that I do. I think there are the sports that I mentioned, including the racing, there are 21 different things that I do. And each of those 21 different things has a unit stake. And each week, I look at the P&L on those and I either put the stake up or put the stake down, depending on where we are. Because I don't think there's any point in putting your stakes up or down on everything that you do if the profit and loss on some is, big, and if the profit on one's decent and then the other one's making a loss, I think you have to do it for each individual thing.
Yeah. So what do you like at losing? I mean, have you already experienced a bit of a nothing's going right, everything I back gets chinned and nose on the line, and that.
Yeah.
What do you like? How do you deal with it when that happens? Because inevitably they do, don't they? And that's when some people go on tilt, as they used to say.
Well, I have gone on tilt, and I think everybody has, but the tilting is a lot less, and the chasing, etc. Don't do that. I'm not saying I haven't, but I'm saying I don't tend to do that. Everything I do is sort of written down in the morning, and that's what I stick to. That's every bet that I'm going to do. I mean, obviously, when I'm doing in play, what I mean by that is the basic bet is there, and then the tuning for that is done during the match. Yeah. But all the horses, all the sports I'm going to do for that day are all laid out. But going back to what you were saying, I used to be quite a bad loser. Yeah. But I was also a good winner as well, and I can't half shout. and I still do shout, because I think it's hard enough. Why not shout them home? But I am trying to be, say I'm up there, say I was up there when I win, and I was down there when I lost. I'm now trying to be that sort of more level winner. But I try, but definitely level with the losses as well, because you have to be. You have to be, and you've got to move on. And I think I keep saying this, a lot of people you've interviewed have said this, but I think they have. You've just got to say that right off that day and start again the next morning. And it's refreshing when you do start again the next morning and you've not chased and you've not had an extra bet or whatever, and you just start again. Once the figure's in the book, it's gone. It's done.
Yeah, a lot of people said that they don't care about losing, which is probably a big. Obviously, they care if they lose all the time, but if you don't care if you lose for a period of time, you're confident you'll get it back. Is there any other, what do you do anything else apart from this? Now you've given up your job. Have you got any other irons in fires?
I'll do a couple of bits and bobs of things. I'm not quite into antiques and stuff like that, but that's like a totally separate sort of thing to this. Just going back to the sort of handling the losses and the wins. I've always done this, even when I was betting, smaller. If you have a decent win, buy yourself something, or take the missus out for a move or something like that. And my friend, he calls it white goods. Whenever one of us wins, we always say white goods, and that goes back to one Cheltenham. He bought a fridge freezer for his kitchen, and we just call it white goods. So when we win, we go white goods. It might be a bottle of wine, but it's still white goods.
Yeah. Is that I was just asking about the other stuff, because if you're having a particularly bad run, can you think, right, I'm going to go concentrate on the antiques for a couple of weeks now and come back to this? Is that something you can do?
I wouldn't leave it for 2 weeks, but if I've had a bad day, I mean, obviously a lot of the sports are at night time, but if I've done an afternoon meeting the horses and then I've got a bit of a break before the football or whatever, just go in the shed for a couple of hours and have a potter with that. Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
John. Well, it's been really nice talking to you. It's a really sort of good stuff there. What price do you make yourself to be doing this until you decide to turn it all in and retire?
Oh, that's a question, isn't it?
I like to try and ask a few good ones, isn't
I could have been cheeky and said no offers.
it? Why not? You got to be confident.
I don't know. 1 to 6.
Brilliant. Okay, well, we'll if you're up for it, we'll come back to you in 12 months and see how it's been going. Is that all right?
That's great, yeah. And I mean, obviously, you're a bit further south than me, Simon, but I'd hope to see you at Cheltenham or somewhere like that in the future.
Yeah, I hope to be at all the Cheltenhams anyway. I'll come up to York. I'll come up to York for the Ebor meeting. So if you go to that one,
It's possible I might be there for one of the days, so I might see you there. All right.
excellent. Well, it's been a great job. And thanks for contacting me in the first place, and thanks for coming up at the racecourse. I'm always chuffed when people do that. If this is a shameless self promotion bit here, if you do like what you've seen here today, you like me at the chat with John, like and subscribe to the channel because that way keeps us inspired to keep doing more things. Thanks very much for your time, John. Wish you the best of luck, mate. And I'll see. What is it now? Yeah, we'll see you in June 2026 and see how it's all been going.
If anyone does want to contact me, Simon, you can quite happily give them my email or something if you want.
Yeah, and Sooty and Sweep. That was it, wasn't it?
On Colossus, yeah.
On Colossus, I recommend that's good fun on Colossus, where you can sort of back somebody and. Yeah, I'd recommend if nobody's, sort of just and I'm not getting paid for this. Bernard's not paying me, but Colossus is quite good fun, that app. So, but if you like doing play spots and multiples, anyway, thanks a lot, John.
There'll be a small Worcester one on later on, anyway. If anyone
Worcester
wants
one
to have
later
a look.
on, yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're watching this in November, you've missed it, but that's okay. Anyway, okay, John. Thank you very much, mate.
Thanks, Simon. Appreciate it. Bye bye.
Hello everyone, just a quick one. If you have enjoyed these videos and are enjoying these videos, can you please like and subscribe to my channel? Thanks very much.